Today, LeBron and Steph Curry will be on the Cleveland Cavaliers. LaMelo Ball will be a Los Angeles Laker. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be a Toronto Raptor. And that's because every NBA player is now on their hometown team. We're starting off with 30 squads, but by the end of this video, only one will remain to see who's the best basketball city. We'll first start off by spinning this wheel to decide an attacker. For turn number 1, it's going to be the Toronto Raptors. And this spinning compass decides the direction they will move in, which will pretty much take them right into New York Knicks territory. And that now means that these two teams will battle it out, computer versus computer, to decide a winner. Raptors are led by Shai and Jamal Murray, while the Knicks' only all-star would be Donovan Mitchell. And as far as the final result of this game, this would be an easy win for the Raptors, as they would go into Madison Square Garden and win by double digits. As a reward, they would be taking all of the Knicks' prior existing territory, as well as Donovan Mitchell. But that's not the only way teams can get upgraded. Also on this map are 5 NBA stars who come from states without an NBA team. If a team passes through that area, they get to add them for free, which could be the difference in this competition. Here we go, spin number 2, the Raptors just got a whole lot better, a massive upgrade. Next, we're going to Chicago. They're led by Anthony Davis, and they're going pretty much directly north. And as mentioned before, this Bulls team would be led by Anthony Davis, who's the only recent All-Star on their roster. However, they do have Fred VanVleet, so he's not completely alone. Now facing the Bucks, led by 2 young recent All-Stars in Tyrese Halliburton plus Tyler Hero. However, the experience of the Bulls duo plus their impressive surrounding cast would make for a Bulls win in their first game of this competition. Wisconsin would be theirs, and as a cherry on top, Tyrese Halliburton would now be running the point for them. Could we be seeing the start to a really incredible run for the Bulls? Alright, the Atlanta Hawks, this is a really good team, and they're going to be going in the north, sort of east direction. And that means they wouldn't be playing anyone, but they would be taking South Carolina native Ja Morant to add to their team. And this was a roster that already included the likes of Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Brown, Stephon Castle, and more. And by the time we see them in action, we could be looking at a powerhouse. Right, for our next spin, turn number 4, the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they're going to be going in the southeast-ish direction, however you want to put it. They're going to be playing Chicago. And they would be facing Anthony Davis plus Halliburton with their hometown heroes Chet Holmgren, as well as Jalen Suggs wearing his questionable headband. However, the rest of Minnesota's team would be relatively thin. The Bulls would overall have more talent, and the gap would be stretched thanks to double-doubles from both their premier stars. In the end, Minnesota would not be pulling off an upset, and the Bulls would be stacking the deck, taking Minnesota as a whole as well as Chet. Chicago is looking really good right now. They have Tyrese, VanVleet, AD, Chet. Now we're going to Golden State. They represent the Bay Area, and they're going to be going south. And with Southern California split up between the 2 LA teams, Golden State would be facing the Lakers, who have a very good team overall, headlined by LaMelo Ball. However, Golden State, which represents the Bay Area, would have a crazy roster of their own, all starting with Damian Lillard, Bo Thompson twins, and Aaron Gordon, with Brook Lopez rounding out their main 5. This super athletic Golden State team would be winning by 7 points. The Bay Area's territory would now be expanding, and they would also be taking LaMelo Ball to make them perhaps the favorites in this competition. But for our next spin, we will be heading to the Eastern Conference, with the wheel landing on the Brooklyn Nets, who'd be representing New Jersey, as that's where they used to be located. The compass would then direct them into what used to be Knicks land, but is now controlled by Toronto. However, even though the Raptors already had a great team and just added Donovan Mitchell, the Nets would be stacked as well, having both Jalen Brunson as well as Kyrie, with Jaren Jackson plus Cat in the front court. And that makes it even more impressive that the Raptors would wind up winning. Shai would give them 41, while Donovan Mitchell would have a very successful 27-point debut. Jamal Murray would come off the bench and provide a spark as well. And as a result, all of New Jersey and New York would be under Canadian control now, adding Jalen Brunson to fortify their roster even more. The Raptors are definitely a top contender in this competition, and that means a lot considering the other teams that have yet to play. But before we continue, this video is sponsored by Raycon. If you're looking for a gift around the holidays, look no further than their Everyday Earbuds Classic. It's a much more affordable earbud alternative to other brands, filled with features such as active noise cancellation, 32 hours of battery life with super fast charging, and a design that's both super comfortable and guaranteed to never fall out no matter what you're doing. And speaking of the design, I've got this nice violet pair, and I also have the matching case. with the protective cover, essentially. But the best part for me is the premium audio quality of the headphones. I've used it to edit videos like the one you're watching right now, and with noise cancellation, I can fully get locked in on the work and ensure that all of the music and sound effects are placed perfectly on the video, both of which are super important to me. But even if you're not a content creator, the earbuds are still a great choice for going for a walk, hitting the gym, or running errands. Raycon audio products like the Everyday Earbuds Classics are up to 20% off this holiday season. Just click the link in the description or go to the URL on the screen to save on Raycon audio products site-wide and order by December 15th to guarantee delivery by Christmas, because great gifts shouldn't be late. Thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Once again, click the link in the description for up to 20% off your first order. And now, back to the video. LA Clippers now. We already saw one LA team lose, well, the second as well. They're heading north. So they'd be facing the Golden State Warriors, who, as mentioned earlier, are led by Dame as well as the 6'8 LaMelo Ball. And this double point guard lineup would be facing the Clippers, who are mostly the team from real life but have Klay Thompson, DeMar DeRozan, as well as Evan Mobley as their recent additions. On paper, they look really good despite being one of the older teams in the league. And that would show itself in this duel, as both teams would give us our closest finish yet. With less than a minute left, we would have a 1-point game. Harden's gonna push it over to Kawhi. Kawhi with the bounce pass down to DeMar, and the Clippers are up by 1 with 36 seconds left. Here comes Dame. Will we see another iconic clutch moment? LaMelo Ball on the left side. He's gonna get the screen. He's gonna spin into the middle. Left-handed layup. Golden State takes the lead. 22 seconds left. The Clippers, with a ton of defense and athleticism on the floor, have to get one more stop. Kawhi Leonard crossover going into the middle. Good defense by Thompson. He forces the miss, gets the rebound, and he's fouled. They're not in the bonus just yet. Still not shooting any free throws. Dame's calling for it. LaMelo's calling for it. They get it to Dame. He passes it over to LaMelo. Golden State's in a good spot. First free throw's in, the second for LaMelo Ball will also go down. Golden State with a chance to steal another star, this time Kawhi. 10.4 seconds. They pass it into Klay with a little bit of space in the corner. He misses it. As good of a look as you could ask for. Dame's going to the line. First free throw is going to be a miss. The second will go down. Clippers not looking too good right now. They pass it over to Klay again. He shoots it. He misses it again. And the Bay Area has defeated both LA teams, taking all of their land, and in this case, Kawhi Leonard as well. Golden State's dynasty could be extending itself under completely different circumstances. But before we find out if that's actually what's going to happen, our next spin. Dallas. Okay, this is actually a very good team. And they would be heading northeast into Oklahoma City land, making for a very lopsided matchup. Dallas would have multiple All-NBA talents such as Julius Randle, Tyrese Maxey, and Cade Cunningham, while Oklahoma City's best player would be Jeremy Sohan, a respectable role player, but obviously there's a talent gap there. The Mavs would be stealing Sohan as well as Oklahoma City's land, and they'd also be selected on the next turn to take some empty space as well, so their territory got a lot larger. But shortly after though, we'd be going right back to Texas, albeit for a different team. The Houston Rockets would be next, and upon spinning the compass, they would be heading east into New Orleans. We're also getting a little bit closer to Austin Reeves, depending on who wins. But for now, the task at hand, which would be a point guard duel between New Orleans native De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young, who was not born in Houston, but was relatively close. These two would go at it, but the actual difference would be in their supporting cast. Houston would have a much better team with Jimmy Butler as their second star, while New Orleans would have good role players, but obviously nobody at that level. The final result of this one would be them losing their land, and as has been the course for this competition, they'd be losing Fox to the Rockets as well. With that said, we'd get a break from the action for a couple of turns, as the wheel and compass would move the Raptors into the empty space known as Vermont, and the Utah Jazz would be making their first move. They don't really have much of a roster, so this might be the best that they get. But the same problem would pop up for another team shortly after. The wheel will land on the Boston Celtics, and the arrow would unfortunately for them point them right into Toronto. However, their roster is extremely bare bones to say the least, even needing some help from bordering states. And as a result, we would have a semi-obvious Raptor win, a weird case of them not getting much in terms of a player. Real value would be in taking the land, and they're even closer to Cooper Flag, should they move in that direction. And just like that, 10 teams have been completely wiped off the map, with our next spin heading us to Detroit. They would have a pretty interesting roster, and the compass would point them southwest, right into Indiana for a battle with the Pacers. The best two players would be point guard Darius Garland and shooting guard Desmond Bane. However, the Pistons would be a different animal, as they'd be led by Devin Booker, have solid role players all around, and their defense would be led by Draymond Green, who'd bring the intensity. Book would finish with a calm 29, and the Pistons would be winning their first game, giving them all of Indiana, and as mentioned before, they'd be stealing Darius Garland. But next up, we'd be heading down south for a team making their first appearance. The Orlando Magic would be next. And after spinning the compass, they would be attacking the Atlanta Hawks for Ja Morant's first game with Anthony Edwards and Jaylen Brown. However, while Florida has a lot of talent as a whole, with its split between two teams, each become relatively thinner. So for the moment, the AE Ja and Jaylen Brown duo will live up to the hype, walking away with a win that could be the start of an absolutely incredible run. After defeating Orlando, taking their land, and Anthony Simons, the wheel would land on the Memphis Grizzlies, and the compass would point them right to the Hawks. However, with Tennessee not having many NBA players, also needing help from bordering states, Atlanta would be going 2 for 2, taking all of Tennessee, as well as Brandon Miller, increasing the depth on their team, which would lead us into our next spin, which would be the Charlotte Hornets. Surprise, surprise, they would be attacking in the direction of the Hawks. Duke standouts Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram would be leading their team. But that wouldn't be all, as they would also have the very skilled Bam Adebayo. And the final result of this one would be very unclear. With about 3 minutes left, the Hornets would actually have a lead. We could be seeing an upset that could change this competition completely. The Hornets with a chance to pull off a crazy upset. Jaylen Brown misses the three. Chris Paul, 40 years old, pushing it. Starting point guard for this Charlotte team. Into the mid-range, good defense by Jaylen Brown. He's doing a lot of dribbling. He's going to take a free throw line jumper and get the friendly bounce. Atlanta down by 6 with 2:42 remaining. They're going to call a timeout. They pass it over to Anthony Edwards. He's going to drive into the paint. Good defense by Adebayo. Gets his own rebound, kicks it out to Jaylen Brown for another three. This time he hits it. And it's right back down to a 3-point deficit for the Hawks. Ja Morant, Anthony Edwards, and Jaylen Brown on the brink of a potential loss. The pass over to Adebayo. He passes it over to Ingram. They feed Zion Williamson in the post. They're sending a double team. They kick it out to Chris Paul. Good ball movement. Kobe White for three, no good. Rebounded by Herb Jones. He's going to throw a dangerous pass to Edwards, but he has Chris Paul on him. Into the paint, acrobatic finish. And Atlanta is only down by 1. Chris Paul dribbling, and there's an illegal screen away from the play. Zion Williamson with the foul. Doesn't agree with the call. That costly turnover now gives Atlanta the possession with a chance to take the lead. Jaylen Brown, guarded by Ingram, pump fake, kicks it out. Jones over to Edwards, getting the screen from Kessler. He's gonna drive into the paint, awkward possession, awkward pass, picked up by Walker Kessler. No time left on the shot clock, gonna have to take a tough layup, and he gets the friendly roll. Crazy possession for Atlanta, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Ingram, short pull-up, no good. Off of the back of the rim. The pass over to Edwards, driving baseline, down to Walker Kessler again. Atlanta on a crucial run. Less than 1 minute remaining. Chris Paul between the legs, still at the top of the key. They pass it over to Kobe White, catch and fire, left wing three. We're all tied up. Charlotte back in the scorer's column. Still trying to pull off that upset. If they win, they can be stealing Anthony Edwards. Jaylen Brown, mid-range jumper. Atlanta reclaims a 2-point lead. Here we go with Adebayo on the inbound. Ingram's calling for it. They get it to him, 40 feet away from the basket, driving into a crowd, dribbles it off his foot, picked up by the Hawks. Herb Jones is going to push it. He's going to kick it out. Anthony Edwards for the three. That could have been the dagger, and it's still a 2-point game. 26 seconds left. About 5 seconds between the shot clock and the game clock. Zion Williamson ties it up. We're all tied up with 22.1. The Hawks trying to continue their dominant run. Jaylen Brown, top of the key. Ja Morant hasn't gotten a touch down the stretch. Could we be seeing some heroics from him? Edwards in the left corner. Looks like the Hawks are going to run the offense through Brown. Ja Morant going to the left side. Kessler setting the screen. Jaylen Brown for three. Friendly bounce. Again. It's a 3-point game out of the timeout. Charlotte, one last chance to tie it up with a three. Ingram running over to the corner. He gets it with some space. And on back-to-back-to-back turns, the Hawks have defended themselves from an attack. And after getting some solid upgrades on the first 2 wins, they would be getting their best one of all, adding Zion Williamson, now giving them 4 All-Stars in their starting 5. But that would be the last we'd see from them for a while. On the next turn, the Raptors would be taking even more unclaimed land, now very close to Cooper Flag. On the following turn, the Phoenix Suns, who haven't played a game yet, would be moving into Nevada. The Houston Rockets would now be moving into Mississippi, getting even closer to Austin Reeves. And to keep things short, the Mavs would be playing the San Antonio Spurs, and they would wind up winning, as the Spurs wouldn't have many players from that general area of Texas. Right, the Wizards. A sleeper, maybe. Very important team for sure. That's going to take them right into the state of Philadelphia. And since they're led by Kevin Durant, they would be the favorites going into this attack, while also having other pieces such as Cam Thomas, Mark Williams, and Josh Hart. And that would make it extremely baffling that they'd wind up losing to Philly, who'd have Mikal Bridges lead the way with 27 points, and Jalen Duren finishing with a double-double that included 16 rebounds. Philly would then be moving into DC, taking their land. And as we've seen before, Kevin Durant would be joining the team he just lost to. They have a ton of high-level role players, now they have their superstars, so we'll see where that goes. But for our next spin, one team would be building from the ground up, the Denver Nuggets, as they'd be attacking in the direction of the Utah Jazz. Both these teams would need help from bordering states to fill their rosters. But while both teams are pretty thin, the difference would be Derek White and Jalen Williams for the Nuggets. Colorado and the neighboring states barely have enough to even field a team, but these two would combine for 53 en route to a win. And as a reward, they would get the land as well as John Collins. However, our next spin would be extremely crucial, as the next team to attack would be Philly, and they'd be moving into what was New York but is now Toronto. Pretty much all of the Northeast and a chance at Cooper Flag would be on the line, and this one would be an intense duel between Shea and Durant, with the latter actually having the advantage, up by 3 with barely any time left. Here we go, 1-point game, about 2.5 minutes left. KD on his new team, the 76ers, with a chance to pull off an upset. Prior to this, Toronto won their first 3 games. Mikal Bridges catch and shoot right wing 3, and Philly is up by 4 on the road. Here comes Shea, guarded by DiVincenzo. Spin move, going to his left. 5 feet away from the basket, pump fake, pivot. Kicks it out to Mitchell, the first person they stole. Over to Barrett. He's going to get the screen from Boucher. He's going to take a 3. No, he doesn't. He throws it right into KD's hands. Crossover in transition. Durant all the way to the basket, extends the lead. Panic mode for the Raptors right now, on the brink of losing a ton of land. 1:44 left. Gilgeous-Alexander getting the screen from Boucher. Boucher with a bad screen, made no contact. Shea's gonna go, drive in anyways, and hit the shot regardless. And just above 90 seconds are left. A very important game. Durant driving right into Klingon. Left-handed layup, wild shot, no good. Outlet pass to Shea. Crossover. Going all the way to the basket, takes a short pull-up, offensive rebound, Mitchell, he puts it up and in. It's a 2-point game, as bad as it looked just a few moments ago. Durant driving in, hop step, misses it, good defense by the Raptors. Shea saves it from going out of bounds, and he's gonna push. Crossover left, running into Barrett. Left-handed layup, floater, all tied up. A quick 6-0 run with 55 seconds left, DiVincenzo. He's going to try to feed Durant in the post. Almost gets stolen. Durant backing down. Very close to the basket. And he's fouled. First free throw for KD will go in. His first game since joining the team. Second one goes down. 2 huge free throws. And with 44.5 left, Toronto trying to tie it up. Shea with a terrible pass down to Mitchell. And DiVincenzo's going to push off the steal. Slows it down. Good transition defense. Over to Bridges. Back out to Hunter. Over to Durant. Durant driving baseline, the pass over to Duren, awkward shot in the paint. He hits it over Klingon, and it's a 4-point game out of the timeout. Toronto with very little room for error. The pass into Shea. Driving left, clear lane to the basket. Good defense by DiVincenzo, it's picked up by Duren. He made the first free throw, and the second one goes down as well. This would wind up being a free throw battle for the remaining time, with Philly winning, taking all of Toronto's claimed territory, moving even closer to Cooper Flag in Maine. And while perhaps Toronto may have had too many guards, Philly would be taking one off their hands. Shea would now be running the point for them, and at this point the sky's the limit for this roster. However, our next game would be less consequential in comparison. To speed things up, the Denver Nuggets would be attacking the Phoenix Suns, winning by 20+, and as a reward, they'd be taking Arizona, as well as Marvin Bagley III. On the following turn, the Bulls would move into empty land bordering Missouri with Tatum. Atlanta would also expand their land more north, now bordering Philadelphia. The Portland Trail Blazers, whose best player from the state would be Sabonis, would defeat the Kings, who represent NorCal, taking their land as well as Jalen Green. And on our next turn, which would actually be number 30, we would see the Rockets move into Arkansas to take Austin Reeves, a nice addition. However, on the next spin, we would be getting back to playing some important games. The wheel would just barely miss the Cavaliers and land on the Pistons instead, who would be attacking the Chicago Bulls. As a reminder, they do have Darius Garland plus Devin Booker in their backcourt, but the main problem would be Draymond Green's inability to stop Anthony Davis in the paint, especially with Tyrese Halliburton setting him up. 30-point win later, they would be taking all of Michigan, and their backcourt is now stacked as Tyrese would be sharing the floor with D-Book. However, while most of the teams remaining have built their teams through winning games, the Denver Nuggets would be going with a different strategy, as on the next turn, they would be moving even closer to Jason Tatum. And this would be followed up by the Portland Trail Blazers moving into Washington, securing Zach LaVine, and the wheel would actually land on the Cavaliers on the following turn. However, they wouldn't be playing anyone, they would just be taking extra land. But right after, we would get back to playing games, as the Miami Heat would be landed on for the first time on the wheel, and promptly, they would be losing to the Houston Rockets, the team that they would be attacking. South Florida would now be Rockets territory, and they'd be stealing Scotty Barnes. However, with only a few teams left, this one would be ramping up extremely quickly. The next game that would be played would be the 76ers challenging the Atlanta Hawks. Keep in mind, they have Zion Williamson, John Morant, Jaylen Brown, and Anthony Edwards rounding it out. So by all means, this one would be ending as an upset, as Philly would walk away with maybe the most important win yet. As not only would they be stealing Anthony Edwards, but this would be the start to a crazy run. They would be selected by the wheel for a second straight time, with the compass now directing them into Cleveland, who haven't played a game yet. While they do have the best two players of the last generation playing together, Philly would just have a much better team overall, and Cleveland would not be rewarded for sitting on their hands this whole time. Philly would very clearly be the powerhouse of the Eastern Conference, and they would be adding in LeBron James. But speaking of upgrades, we would see a major one on our next turn, as Denver would move into Missouri, taking Jason Tatum. However, immediately after, they would be attacked by Golden State, who would easily defeat them. As a reminder, they have Damian Lillard, LaMelo Ball, Kawhi Leonard, and by taking all of Denver's land, they would quickly be taking Jason Tatum, who would immediately be huge in their next game, as they would be playing the Portland Trail Blazers, winning this one easily, now controlling the entire West Coast while stealing Domantas Sabonis. After starting with 30, we're now down to 5. It's been a long journey, and a winner is soon to be crowned. So let's keep it moving. With only a few spins left, the Bulls would be attacking, the compass pointing them into Golden State. However, even though they would have Tyrese and Booker, this would be their last games, as the Warriors, with the recently acquired Tatum leading the way, would be winning, taking all of Chicago's territory as well as Anthony Davis, who will continue on. And this would be followed up by a battle of Texas between the Houston Rockets, the attacker, and the Dallas Mavericks, the defender, which would wind up as a Dallas win, with Cade Cunningham scoring the most important 42 points of his life. In a flash, what was 5 is now down to the final 3. Dallas, Philly, and Golden State, which means that this would be the final spin before we go on to the finals, with Dallas as the attacker. And upon being pointed directly west, which is controlled entirely by Golden State, they'd be playing the Warriors for a spot in the finals against Philly. For a recap of each team, Dallas would be led by their backcourt of Cade Cunningham and Tyrese Maxey, Julius Randle and Jimmy Butler, recently stolen from Houston, as their forwards, and Miles Turner as their center. And despite the fact that Golden State would have Lillard, LaMelo, Tatum, Kawhi, and Anthony Davis, Cade and Maxey specifically would keep them in the game. So we could be seeing a major upset for a chance to move on to the Imperialism Finals. Dallas, the underdog in this situation. Maxey doesn't care, ties it up. LaMelo Ball, the first person that Golden State stole to start off this incredible run. He throws it away right to Jimmy Butler. Maxey's gonna slow it down, guarded by his 2020 draft mate LaMelo. Still with the ball. Miles Turner coming up to set a screen. Maxey goes left instead. He shoots a 3 back-to-back buckets. Tyrese Maxey with the 2 biggest shots of his career. Tatum's gonna walk it up, guarded by Randall, driving in, poke loose, and Dallas is off to the races again. Randall turns it over, the kick out to Tatum. A chaotic possession. Turner with the 2-pointer, the dunk. Less than 2 minutes to play. Cade behind the back. Wild shot. Good defense by Lillard despite the height disadvantage. Golden State the other way. Has Turner on the switch to kick out to Tatum. Tatum with a quick first step. Pulls up for 3. Bad defense by Randall. And Golden State takes the lead. Here we go with Maxey again. Still guarded by LaMelo. Driving, hop step, through a crowd. Kawhi came with the help and it doesn't matter. Less than 90 seconds left. Here we go with Tatum. Can Randall get a stop? Tatum with another quick first step, right past him, misses the mid-range. Randall with the pass over to Maxey. He's gonna drive towards the baseline, Euro step, wild layup. Rebounded by Davis this time. The pass up to Kawhi. Kawhi over from Butler, guarded by Butler. He passes it down to Tatum, who makes the layup. Tatum coming up huge down the stretch. It's pretty much been all Maxey down for Dallas on the other end. He dunks it, another 2 points for him. 93-93, 50 seconds. Here we go with Tatum. No screen, no anything. He's just going to take a long 2 and make it. Dallas out of the timeout. They pass it into Cade, who passes it right to Maxey immediately. Pretty clear who Dallas is running the offense through down the stretch. Will it work out? Spin move. Tough layup. Good defense by Ball. Golden State could break it open here with a 3. A 2 would go a long way. Tatum down low, another bucket. Was looking very promising for Dallas, but Golden State on a run at the best possible time for them. The pass over to Cade, back down to Randall. Randall through a crowd. No and one, but he'll go to the line for 2. Randall, about a 75% free throw shooter. First one goes in. And the second to cut it down to a 2-point game. 23.1 seconds left. He's going to get the friendly bounce. Dallas had to foul. Dame's going to the line. Obviously not the person you want to send. The first one's going to go in, and the second one will also go down. So it's a 4-point game, 22.3. No more timeouts left for the Mavericks. Uphill battle, gonna need a miracle. Maxey with the crossover into the lane. His floater's good. Dallas really could use a steal here. A lot of good free throw shooting on the floor. It's gonna be Ball next. He makes the first, and the second will also go down. Still no timeouts left for Dallas, so they're going to have to go the length of the floor for the rest of the game. Here we go with Cade this time. He's going to pass over to Turner, over to Butler. Butler wants to take a 2 and hits it, but there's only 4.7 seconds left. Dallas really needs a steal here, and then they're going to have to go the length of the floor. They pass it into Dame. They take a lot of time off the clock. Dame made the first, and as the leader of this Golden State team, its oldest member, he makes both. And that would effectively do it. Mavs had a really good chance down the stretch but couldn't execute, losing not only the game, but also all their land and Cade Cunningham. So the finals are set, the Philadelphia 76ers and Golden State Warriors. However, while we've spoken on how good Golden State already was, even before they took Cade, so is Philly, with KD, LeBron, Shea, Duren, and Anthony Edwards in their starting 5. And with teams stacked from top to bottom, the culmination of multiple games, multiple wins, and perseverance that has gone far beyond the other 28 teams who haven't made it to this point. This one would be a tie game with 4 minutes left. Here we go, Imperialism Finals, Jason Tatum, guarded by LeBron, East Coast, West Coast. Winner go home. Winner takes the entire map. Tatum driving in right-handed, it's good. Golden State is up by 2. Shea's gonna drive in, posting up now. Gonna spin the other way, it's blocked by Davis. The rebound by Tatum, he passes it up ahead to Davis. Crossover, guarded by Durant. He's gonna take a left-handed layup and miss it. Gets his own rebound though and puts it back up and in. 4-point lead for Golden State, 3 minutes to play. Here comes Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, former Toronto Raptor. The pass down to Duren. Duren with the pass over to LeBron in the corner. Jab step, driving baseline. Another block by Davis. This time it's picked up by Tatum. And the pass up ahead to Lillard. Lillard slows it down. Could have taken the 3 on the break. The pass over to Tatum, guarded by Duren. He's about to get the screen from Dame and pull up for 3. He misses it, no good. LeBron's gonna push it in transition now, guarded by Cade Cunningham. All the way, short pull-up. It's in, and it's a 2-point game. Cunningham, former Dallas Maverick, guarded by Anthony Edwards. The pass over to Davis, over to Tatum once again. Kawhi's gonna get it at the free throw line and kicks it out to Cade. 9 seconds on the shot clock. Gets the screen from Davis. Edwards goes under. Cade makes him pay. It's a 5-point game for Golden State. James with the ball now. They're running a play for Durant. No, they're running a play for him to get the screen by Duren. He's going to drive in, kicks it out to the corner. Good ball movement. 7 seconds on the shot clock. Here we go with Shea. Pump fake. Not looking for his shot. He kicks it out to Durant. A tough shot over Leonard. It's rebounded by Cunningham. And Golden State's going to push it on the break. The pass over to Kawhi in the corner. Semi-contested shot. In and out. Just above 90 seconds to play for the entirety of the United States of America. Here we go with LeBron to the paint. Through traffic. Makes the layup. And it's just a 3-point deficit for Philly. Here we go with Tatum. Tatum driving right into Edwards. Floater off the hop step. And it's rebounded by James. He's going to push. Has Tatum behind him. Good transition defense. Shea's going to drive baseline. The pass out to Durant. Over to LeBron again. 1:10 left on the game. Floater. No good. Tatum is going to push in transition. Crossover. Gets into the lane. Dunks it with the right. It's a 5-point game once again. Jason Tatum, after playing for several teams, coming up huge in the finals. 54 seconds on the dot left. They pass it into James, and he's going to drive. Going left into Davis, draws a foul. LeBron's first free throw's in, and his second will also go down. So it's a 3-point game with about 45 seconds left. Time winding down. Tatum right into Duren, and it's a charge. Could be a costly turnover. Here comes James. James with a one-legged three, and it goes in. Early in the shot clock, a wild shot, but it drops. And we're all tied up with 36 seconds left in dramatic fashion. Here we go with Tatum early in the shot clock. He takes a step-back jumper at the elbow, and it's back up to 2 for Golden State. Fast-paced offense with barely any time left. 76ers call another timeout. 28.8 left in the game, 21 seconds on the shot clock. LeBron's calling for it. They get it into Shea, and they finally get it to him. 25 seconds left. LeBron James into the paint, and one. LeBron James coming up huge down the stretch, 41 years old. And his free throw to complete the 3-point play goes down. Out of the timeout, 23 seconds. Here we go with Tatum. Guarded by James. Can LeBron get a stop after scoring 6 straight points? He's playing good defense. Tatum going middle, and he draws the foul. Jason Tatum with the 2 biggest free throws of his entire career. First one gets the bounce. And the second to give Golden State the lead. All started off with Dame, then LaMelo, Kawhi, Anthony Davis, Cade and him. Here we go with LeBron. 10 seconds left. They're running a play for Shea. They're actually running a play for LeBron. He's going to take another 3 for the win. No good. And that's it. The hometown NBA Imperialism champions would be the Golden State Warriors. In some ways, their dynasty has been extended, and as the last team standing, they would be controlling the entire map. If you want to watch another Imperialism, with every team having their normal rosters to crown this year's champion, click right here in the middle of the screen.